The sea is never silent. Waves break, yet beneath them, something softer lingers. A whisper, faint but endless, woven into the tide. For centuries, sailors have heard it in the dark. They called it the voice of the abyss. Some named it the eternal breath of Poseidon. Not thunder, not storm, but a murmur deep and low. It rises when the world is quiet. It drifts through foam and salt, like a memory. Have you stood at the shore at night? The stars above, the ocean before you, endless. There's a moment when the sea feels alive. Every crest, every ripple, as if it watches. And then, you think you hear it, a voice that belongs to no man, a voice carried through time, patient and vast. It does not command nor threaten, it only whispers, like a secret waiting. Some believe it is guidance, others believe it is a warning, but all who have heard it agree. The ocean speaks with a truth older than memory. Tonight we follow that whisper, into the abyss, into the eternal story of Poseidon. The call of the sea begins in silence. It is not silence that is empty. It is silence filled with waiting. I first felt it as a child, standing near the shore. The horizon stretched farther than my eyes could hold. The waves came and went like breathing. Every crest rose and broke with timeless rhythm. And in that rhythm, there was something more. It was not sound, not even voice, but presence. The sea seemed alive, patient, eternal. I would stand for hours, listening, watching. The salt wind stung my skin, but I did not move. Some said the sea is a mirror of the soul. Others said it is the edge of the world. But I knew it was something else. It was a doorway, wide and endless. A call that reached deep into the heart. When the sun sank, the ocean burned with gold. When the moon rose, silver painted its skin. No cathedral, no temple felt as vast as that water. It was worship without words, prayer without end. The sea spoke in whispers of foam. It spoke in sighs of distant tide. It spoke in silence, heavy as stone. And I, a listener, could not turn away. Years passed, but the call never dimmed. I would walk the beaches at dawn, alone. Each step sank into wet sand, then vanished. Footprints erased as though I had never been. The ocean did not keep what it touched. It gave, and it took with equal hand. I learned to respect that balance. Nothing held forever, nothing lost forever. The call of the sea was not about ownership. It was about belonging, surrender. To stand before the tide was to yield, not in fear, but in trust. I trusted the sea to reveal what mattered. I trusted the sea to carry what I could not. Many nights I heard the old stories. Fishermen spoke of voices rising from the deep. Some said it was the god himself, Poseidon, ruler of tides and keeper of secrets. Others said it was memory itself, the echo of every ship, every prayer, every song. The ocean gathers what the world forgets. It holds them in depths no eye can see. Perhaps that is why it calls, to remind us nothing is truly gone. Every whisper is a return, every wave a messenger. The call of the sea is eternal. It does not demand, it does not plead. It invites us to listen, to wonder, to wander. I once stood on a cliff as a storm rose. Winds howled, lightning split the horizon. The sea roared like a beast unchained. Yet within that roar, I heard it. The whisper, steady and calm. Even in fury, the sea spoke gently. Its call was not of fear, but of awe. A voice reminding us of our place. Small, yet not forgotten. Mortal, yet embraced by something vast. I closed my eyes and listened. The spray struck my face. The wind tore at me. Still I listened. The whisper grew clear. It said nothing I could repeat, but it said everything I needed. A truth older than language. A promise older than time. From that night, I understood. The call of the sea is the call of eternity. It waits in the tide, in the wind, in silence. It waits in the heart, patient and endless. And once you hear it, you are never free, nor would you want to be. For the sea does not chain you. It sets you adrift into wonder. It gives you the gift of belonging. To the abyss, to the whisper, to Poseidon's eternal call. The myth of Poseidon begins with power. Not the power of men, but the power of worlds. He was born of Titans, shaped by eternity. Brother to Zeus, brother to Hades, lord of the sea. Where Zeus ruled the sky, Poseidon ruled the tide. Where Hades kept the underworld, Poseidon kept the abyss. His realm was endless, shifting, untamed. No crown could bind him, no chain could hold him. The sea was his throne, his voice, his breath. Each wave was a gesture, each storm a thought. Yet not all storms were wrath. Much of his reign was silent, unseen. The ocean holds mysteries that rage cannot touch. Pearls deep within shells, light hidden in darkness. Legends say Poseidon carried a trident, not only a weapon, but a key to stir the waters, to summon their strength, but also a symbol of balance. 3 prongs, 3 truths: creation, change, and return. He was not only feared, he was revered. Sailors prayed to him before voyages. Fishermen cast offerings into the surf. Children whispered his name at night. Because the sea was never just water. It was life, death, and mystery woven as one. And Poseidon was its eternal heart. He was said to walk the shores unseen, sometimes as a shadow, sometimes as a man. Footprints washed away before they were noticed. But his presence lingered in the salt air. He was the hidden companion of every traveler. Some stories spoke of kindness. He guided lost ships back to light. He calmed storms when prayers were true. Other tales spoke of warning. He reminded mortals not to forget respect, for the sea could give and it could take. Yet even then, he was not cruel. He was vast, beyond anger or mercy. He was the ocean itself. Myth said his palace lay beneath the waves, a hall of coral, stone, and shimmering shells. Creatures of the deep kept watch at its gates, and in its chambers, tides sang like harps. Some believed those songs reached the surface. They became the whispers in the waves, the voice of Poseidon, gentle and eternal, a whisper that carried both memory and dream. Not all heard it, only those who listened, only those who stood still long enough. Legends tell of poets who caught the sound. They wrote words that felt older than themselves. Legends tell of wanderers guided by whispers. They followed the call into unknown journeys. Poseidon was not simply a god to fear. He was a god to trust, because he spoke in ways no man could. His myth was not thunder but tide, not command but whisper, always whisper. The myth lives on today. Even when faith has faded, the sea remains, and with it, the whisper endures. Every story told of Poseidon is a reflection of the ocean's truth, a truth without beginning or end, a truth carried in water, in silence, in time. Poseidon is not gone. He is there when waves rise. He is there when tides retreat. He is there when you close your eyes at the shore, listening, waiting, whispering. The myth is not past. It is present, and it calls even now. The myth of Poseidon is the myth of the sea, and the sea is forever. The abyss beckons with silence deeper than night. It does not shout. It does not roar. It waits, waiting with patience older than the stars themselves. When you stand at the shore, you feel its breath, cold, endless, steady as the pull of the tide. The surface glitters, but beneath lies shadow. shadow that stretches farther than any light. Men have measured mountains, mapped deserts, crossed skies. Yet the abyss remains unmapped, unbroken, untouched. It is a frontier that lives beneath our feet, not far above, but far below. When you gaze across the water, you sense it, a depth too vast to name, a silence too heavy to ignore. The abyss does not threaten, it invites you to wonder what lies within, invites you to listen to its steady call. Some fear that call, for it feels eternal. Others embrace it, for eternity is truth. The abyss is a mirror of the soul, dark, infinite, filled with unseen currents. When the sun sinks, the horizon fades, and all that remains is depth without end. Sailors have spoken of shadows rising, shapes too large to comprehend. Not monsters, not demons, but mysteries. Hints of worlds beyond the reach of light. Legends say Poseidon's realm begins there, not at the surface, but in the silence below. His whisper rides the waves, but his throne lies deep. A palace carved not of stone, but of stillness. The abyss is that palace's doorway, not closed, not open, but waiting. Always waiting for those who listen. I have stood on cliffs and felt its weight. The sea before me, stretched like glass. No wave, no ripple, only depth. It felt as though the world paused to breathe. And in that breath, the abyss spoke. Not in words, but in presence. A weight pressing against thought, against heart. A reminder of how small we are, and yet how endless we might become. The abyss is not death. It is not loss. It is possibility without measure. It is silence filled with unspoken truths. Some describe it as fear, but fear is only the first step. Beyond fear lies awe, and beyond awe lies belonging. For in the abyss, there is no separation. The sea swallows name, time, memory, and gives back eternity in return. I have listened to old mariners speak of it, their eyes lit not with dread, but wonder. They said the abyss hums like a hymn, low, steady, endless, older than gods. Perhaps that hum is Poseidon himself, his eternal whisper woven into water, not to command, not to punish, but to remind. Remind us of the mystery we come from. Remind us of the mystery we return to. Every drop of rain, every stream, every tear. All journeys end in the sea, and the sea ends in the abyss. It is the heart of water, the cradle of silence. And within its silence, life itself begins again. To feel its presence is to know eternity, not as distance, but as closeness, not as absence, but as embrace. The abyss beckons, not with terror, but truth. And the truth is simple. We belong to it. We always have. We always will. The abyss is not the end. It is the beginning without end. And when you listen closely, you will hear it. The whisper of Poseidon rising from below. A voice eternal, calm, and infinite. A voice that carries the promise of the deep. The abyss beckons, and the soul answers. The voices in the tide are older than time. They rise and fall with the breath of the ocean. Each wave carries a whisper, soft yet unbroken. When you walk along the shore, you hear it. Not in words, not in language, but in rhythm. The sea speaks through the shifting of water. It tells stories in patterns of foam and spray. Some voices sound like sighs drifting across sand. Others rumble low, like echoes from a cavern. Always they return, always they endure. The tide is a messenger, eternal and patient. It carries the voice of Poseidon through the world. In dawn's light, the voices are gentle. They murmur of beginnings, of hope, of calm seas. At dusk, the voices deepen with memory. They speak of journeys ended, of horizons lost. In the night, they become mysterious. They slip between silence and sound, never still. Some say the tide speaks differently to each soul. To the wanderer, it whispers of paths unknown. To the grieving, it hums of return and healing. To the dreamer, it sings of stars mirrored in water. I once listened at midnight, alone on the shore. The air was still, the world half asleep. Only the tide moved, steady, eternal. And then I heard it clearly. Not thunder, not roar, but the whisper shaped like thought. It felt as though the sea knew my name, as though it had waited for me to arrive. The voice was not loud, but it filled me. It was a tide within the heart. It told me nothing I could repeat. Yet it told me everything I needed to hear. Some say the voices are tricks of the mind. Waves colliding, winds shifting, nothing more. But I know better. The sea does not trick, it reveals. It shows us what lies beyond silence. It reminds us that sound is more than noise. It is memory carried in motion. Every tide is a record of time. Every wave has touched shores unseen. Perhaps the voices are fragments of those journeys. Perhaps each whisper is a piece of eternity. Sailors speak of hearing chants while adrift, low songs that rise from the water itself. They claim the voices guide them home, not by stars, not by maps, but by sound. The whisper in the tide leads the way. Others tell of warnings. The tide calls them back when danger looms. It urges them to turn before the storm. It does not shout, it does not beg. It only repeats, steady, certain, patient. The voice of Poseidon is not command. It is reminder, gentle yet unshakable. I believe that is why it never fades. The tide is eternal, and so are the voices. You may not hear them at first, but if you stand still, they come. They weave through your thoughts like threads of salt. They rise from silence like breath in the dark. And once you hear them, they stay. Even far from the ocean, they remain. In the hush of night, in the rustle of wind, the voices echo like waves inside the soul. They are not bound to water alone. They live where memory touches mystery, where longing meets stillness. That is why they endure. The voices in the tide are not illusions. They are truth disguised as sound. They are Poseidon's eternal whisper. Not fierce, not fleeting, but endless. The tide carries them always. To remind us we are never apart from the sea. To remind us that even in silence, it speaks. And to remind us that the whisper is forever. The sea has always been a mirror for the sky. Its surface reflects the heavens, endless and shifting. By day it is blue and bright, a living canvas of light. By night it is deep and dark, scattered with trembling stars. The ancients believed the sea was a bridge to the cosmos. They said Poseidon's domain touched not only earth, but eternity. Every tide was a pulse between the mortal and the infinite. Every wave a messenger, bearing secrets from above. I once sat on the rocks, watching the horizon fade. The sun sank, and the sea seemed to drink its fire. Gold turned to crimson, then to indigo, then to shadow. And in that moment, I felt the sea breathe. It inhaled the last of the sun. It exhaled 1,000 glimmers on the surface. Each shimmer looked like a star breaking free. The sea was not dark, but alive with hidden light. It was as if the heavens had descended into the deep. Some say stars fall into the ocean when they die. Their fire cools, their light softens. But they are not lost. They drift below the waves, waiting to rise again. Sailors tell of nights when the water glows. Phosphorescent tides shimmer like constellations in motion. They believe it is proof that stars truly rest below. Each glow a reminder of eternity reborn. Fishermen once guided their boats by this light. No lantern, no torch, only the sea's own fire. The glow was gentle, but it was enough. It carried them home through the vastness of night. I remember one night at sea, far from land. The water around the ship began to shine. Every ripple shimmered with green and silver sparks. It was as though the stars had come to sail with us. The crew grew silent, reverent, awed. None spoke, for words felt too small. In that stillness, the sea seemed endless and kind. The glow was not fierce, but eternal. We were surrounded, embraced, carried by light. Some whispered Poseidon was near, watching us. Others said it was the blessing of the stars. I believe it was both. For the sea is not apart from the sky. It is their meeting place, their eternal conversation. When the heavens sigh, the waves shift. When the stars wander, the tides follow. Poseidon listens, Poseidon answers. The ocean is his voice, and the cosmos his echo. Have you ever stood at the shore at midnight, when the horizon is gone and sea and sky become one? You cannot tell where the water ends and the heavens begin. It feels as though you are standing between worlds. The hush of waves is like a heartbeat. The scattered stars reflect like endless lanterns. In that moment, you are neither above nor below. You are simply part of something vast and whole. This is the secret the sea teaches, that boundaries are illusions, that the stars and the tides are not separate, that every ripple is a reflection of eternity. The ancients built temples by the coast. They prayed not only to the gods of earth, but of heaven. For they knew the sea connected them all. Poseidon was not only ruler of waves, he was keeper of the threshold between realms. That is why sailors carried offerings of stars. Not real stars, but symbols, torches, jewels, sparks of flame. They gave them to the sea, trusting he would hear, trusting their prayers would reach beyond the horizon. Even now, the sea still reflects that bond. Every tide carries whispers of the cosmos. Every wave holds fragments of starlight. And when you listen, truly listen, you feel it. The stars are not far. The sea is not just water. It is eternity, flowing, whispering, alive. The abyss is not emptiness, but connection. A bridge between our breath and the infinite sky. And through it all, Poseidon's whisper endures. The sea will always carry the voice of the stars. There are places where the sea becomes a labyrinth. Islands scattered like stepping stones across the horizon. Channels winding, narrow and secret, hidden by tides. Sailors speak of them with awe and caution. They call them the paths of Poseidon, for they believe only he knows the true way through. Each passage changes with the pull of the moon. What is clear today may vanish tomorrow. Rocks rise where yesterday there was open water. Currents twist and carry ships astray. It is said Poseidon built these mazes as tests, not of strength, but of patience and trust. For the sea rewards those who listen, not those who force. I once followed such a path by chance. The map showed nothing but open sea. Yet the waves guided us between unseen walls of stone. Each turn revealed another mystery. Caves carved by waves, arches formed by time. Water glowing faintly in the dark, as if lit from within. The silence was complete except for the heartbeat of oars. We moved as though inside the breath of the sea. Every sound echoed, magnified, transformed. It was not frightening, but humbling, as though we were walking in a temple. Perhaps that is what it truly was. A temple built not by hands, but by tides, walls of stone rising like pillars of forgotten gods. The roof, a sky of shifting light and water. Each ripple painted shadows across the cavern. The sea became a cathedral, alive and eternal. Some believe the labyrinth leads to hidden sanctuaries, islands untouched, where time itself moves slowly, where sailors step ashore and find the air different. As if the world has forgotten this place exists. There are tales of fruits sweeter than honey, of springs that heal the weary and broken, of voices singing in harmony with the waves. But such places are not found by searching. They appear only when the sea chooses, and they vanish again without trace. I remember one sailor telling me his story. He claimed he found such an island once. The sand was white as bone, the trees heavy with fruit, the air filled with music, though no one was near. He rested there, slept, and dreamed of stars. When he awoke, his ship was waiting at the shore, the island already fading into mist. He swore he had not imagined it, for in his hand was fruit unlike any other, sweet beyond measure, fragrant beyond words. And yet by morning, it had dissolved like foam, leaving only memory, like a whisper in the tide. Perhaps these sanctuaries are not meant to be kept. Perhaps they are gifts, fleeting and rare, reminders that the sea is both mystery and mercy, a teacher of wonder, not possession. The labyrinth itself teaches this lesson. You cannot conquer it with charts or force. You can only surrender and follow the rhythm. The sea will carry you if you let it. Resist and you are lost. Accept and you are guided. The ancients knew this truth well. They carved symbols of labyrinths into stone, not as puzzles to be solved, but as prayers. Prayers for safe passage, for wisdom, for humility. Each twist and turn mirrored the movement of the tide. Each path a reflection of life itself. Perhaps Poseidon's labyrinth is not only of stone. Perhaps it is within us as well. The doubts, the choices, the endless searching. Each passage a test of trust, each turn a reminder to listen. For the voice of the sea is never silent. It speaks in currents, in winds, in silence itself. And if you let it guide you, you find the way. Through the labyrinth, through the mystery, through yourself. That is the gift hidden in the mazes of the deep. Not fear, not loss, but discovery. The abyss becomes a teacher, gentle yet unyielding. And in its heart, Poseidon whispers still. The path is never lost, only waiting to be heard. The sea holds many voices, but some rise from its depths unseen. Not waves, not winds, but songs that live beneath. They call them the hymns of the abyss. Melodies that drift upward from waters too deep for light. Fishermen hear them when the night is still. A faint hum carried on the tide, soft as breath. Sailors hear them far out at sea where silence reigns. The sound is low, steady, unbroken. It is not human, not bird, not whale. It is something older, something vast. Legends say it is Poseidon's choir. The ocean itself turned into voice, each hymn rising with the pulse of the deep. Not to frighten, but to remind that the sea is alive, awake, eternal. I remember once drifting on calm waters. No wind, no current, only stillness. Then a sound began, faint beneath the keel. Like strings plucked gently by unseen hands, it grew, wave upon wave of harmony. The sea itself was singing to the night. I felt no fear, only awe, as though I had stepped into a secret long guarded. The crew froze, silent, listening. None dared move, none dared speak. We knew the hymn was not for us, yet it flowed through us, filling every breath. Some said it was the voices of the drowned, but I knew it was not sorrow I heard. It was not lament, but memory. The sea remembering itself through sound. Other nights, the hymns return in fragments, a hum in the distance, fading with the tide. They never linger, never repeat the same. Each song is unique, each moment unrepeatable, as though the abyss itself composes in real time. Some claim to follow the hymns to hidden places, islands that rise only when the song is heard, caves that glow with unseen light, waters that calm storms with a single note. Others believe the hymns guide souls, that those lost at sea are carried by them, not in silence, but in song. The hymns are their passage, their return. One sailor told me he dreamed of the hymn. In his dream, he floated above endless water. The song rose, vast and tender, embracing him. When he awoke, the storm was gone. The ship still afloat, untouched. He swore the hymn had saved them. And who am I to doubt? For the sea is both danger and deliverance. It takes, but it also gives. Perhaps the hymns are its gift, soft reminders that beneath the fear, there is care, that in the abyss there is music. The ancients carved waves on temple walls, not jagged, not fierce, but flowing. They believed sound itself was sacred, that Poseidon spoke not in thunder, but in rhythm, that the ocean's pulse was a hymn eternal. Even now, I believe this is true. When you sit by the shore, close your eyes. Listen not just to the crash of waves, but to what lies beneath. A hum, a pattern, a memory. The hymn is always there. You need only to be still enough to hear. And when you do, it changes you. You carry it long after the tide retreats. It becomes part of your breath, your heart. It is not a song you forget. It is a song that remembers you. Perhaps that is why the abyss sings. Not to call us, not to warn us, but to remind us we are part of it. That the sea is not separate from us. That we are threads in its vast harmony. The hymn binds us to the eternal, not with chains, but with sound. And so it continues beneath the waves, soft, unending, patient. The hymns of the abyss, Poseidon's eternal chorus, the sea whispering not with words, but with music. And the song, once heard, never leaves. There are currents in the sea that never rest, invisible rivers flowing through the vast ocean. They move with purpose, guided by hidden design. Some are gentle streams, carrying warmth across the world. Others are mighty torrents, dragging ships astray. Sailors call them the veins of Poseidon, for they say the sea has a living heart. And these currents are its blood, eternal and unbroken. I first learned of them from an old navigator. He told me no map could chart their true course. For the currents shift like thought, unseen but powerful. To fight them is folly, he warned. But to follow them is wisdom. The sea does not resist those who listen. I remembered his words when my own ship drifted. At first, we thought the wind had betrayed us. The sails hung heavy, the sea strangely still. Yet beneath the keel, the water moved. Slowly, insistently, it carried us on. Days passed, and the current did not fade. It drew us far from the path we knew. But with it came discoveries no map had shown. Islands rising like emeralds from the horizon, waters glowing with life at night. Creatures unknown, gliding beneath us in silence. The current had become our unseen guide. It was as though Poseidon himself carried us, not with violence, but with quiet intention. We were no longer travelers by choice. We were guests carried by the veins of the deep. Some nights, I lay awake listening. The sound was different, like a heartbeat below, a pulse of water, strong and steady. It felt as though the ocean breathed beneath us. Perhaps the old tales are true. Perhaps the sea is alive in ways we cannot measure. Its currents like thoughts, its tides like memory, its waves like whispers, its silence like sleep. The ancients spoke of the world's ocean as one body, not seas divided, but one great being, Poseidon's domain, flowing as vast unity, the currents binding every shore, every depth. This is why sailors trusted the veins. They were not chaos, but order unseen, a design too great for the eye to grasp, yet clear enough for the heart to feel. One sailor told me he owed his life to them. Lost in storm, his mast broken, sails torn. He drifted for days with no hope. Then the current found him, strong and sure. It carried his wrecked ship like a cradle, until land rose from the mist. He swore the current saved him, that it was not chance, but mercy. I do not doubt him, for the sea is fierce, yet also kind. It tests, but it also guides. Its veins flow not to destroy, but to connect. Perhaps that is why they endure. Even when the winds die, the currents move. Even when silence reigns, the sea breathes, always moving, always binding. The veins of Poseidon carry the world together. They touch every shore, every island, every abyss. No ship sails without crossing them. No life exists untouched by them. They are the unseen hands of the ocean, the proof that the sea is never still. When you stand at the shore, you do not see them, but beneath the waves, they are always there. Threads of motion weaving time and tide, a hidden pattern that binds us all. This is Poseidon's gift, eternal and quiet, that even in vastness, nothing is separate, that all waters meet, all currents connect. The sea is one, and we are part of it. The veins carry not just water, but memory. They are the pulse of the abyss. And if you listen, truly listen, you hear it. A heartbeat beneath the hush of waves. A rhythm that never ends. The eternal whisper of Poseidon. The sea hides places untouched by time. Caves carved not by hands, but by patience of waves. They lie beneath cliffs, silent and waiting. Their entrances vanish when the tide rises. But when the waters recede, they appear, dark mouths opening to the breath of the sea. Sailors call them Poseidon's sanctuaries, not because they are temples of stone, but because they feel alive when entered. I first stepped into one at dawn. The tide had fallen, leaving rocks slick with foam. A narrow passage waited, dark and deep. The air was cool, smelling of salt and stone. Inside, the walls glistened like wet glass. Every sound echoed, soft and endless. The sea itself seemed to speak within. Drips of water marked the passing of time, each drop a note in an ancient hymn. I felt no fear, only reverence, as though I walked into a memory older than men. The cave opened wider as I went. Light filtered in through cracks above. It painted the water in shifting patterns. The pool inside was still, a perfect mirror. Looking into it was like gazing into sky. Depths that seemed infinite, unfathomable. I dropped a stone, and ripples spread. The reflection bent, as if the sea itself stirred. Some say such caves are gateways, that they link surface and abyss unseen. The ancients believed they were Poseidon's eyes, windows through which he watched the world. Others claimed they were places of counsel, that those who entered could hear whispers, not words, but truths carried in sound. I cannot deny this, for I felt it. In the stillness, thoughts grew louder. Memories returned with clarity, sharp as tide. It was as if the cave itself remembered me, not who I was, but what I carried. My doubts, my hopes, my longing, all mirrored back in silence. The crew waited outside, uneasy. They feared the cave would close with the tide. They feared spirits whispered inside. But I lingered, unwilling to leave. For I knew the sea was not cruel here. It was kind, in its quiet way. It offered reflection, not danger. It gave stillness, not storm. When I left, the tide had begun to rise. The entrance shrank, waves filling its mouth. By noon, it was gone, hidden again. Yet the memory remained, etched within me. Later, I learned of other sanctuaries. Caves across distant shores, all alike. each opening only at certain hours, each holding silence that felt alive. Some glow with hidden light, others sing with echoes when waves strike. All are revered, never defiled. For sailors know they are not ours. They belong to the sea, eternal and untouchable. Perhaps that is why Poseidon allows us inside. Brief moments of grace before the tide returns. To remind us the ocean is not only vast, it is also intimate, willing to share. Not its treasures, but its presence. Not its riches, but its truth. I think often of that still pool, of how it mirrored the sky, endless and calm. Perhaps it was a message, that the sea and sky are one, that Poseidon and eternity are joined. The sanctuaries remain, though hidden, waiting for those patient enough to find them. They are not marked on maps, nor claimed by kings. They are gifts of the deep, beyond ownership. And when you enter, you know. The sea does not demand from you. It simply asks you to listen, to remember you are small, yet part of something vast, that silence itself is sacred, that in stillness the abyss speaks. Poseidon's sanctuaries endure, unseen but eternal. They wait in the rhythm of the tide, not to be conquered, but to be respected, not to be feared, but to be heard. The caves whisper softly, eternal and unbroken. The sea remembers, always. And in its sanctuaries, it lets us remember too. The ocean keeps secrets far older than men. Among them are the luminous depths, waters that glow without fire, without flame. Sailors speak of them in hushed tones, for they believe the glow is Poseidon's breath, a light that rises only in silence. I first saw it on a moonless night. The sea lay dark, endless and still. Then, as if stirred by unseen hands, it glowed. Tiny sparks shimmered on the surface, like stars scattered across the water. Each wave lit up with liquid fire. The ship seemed to drift through the heavens. Above us, no stars. Below us, galaxies alive in the sea. The crew gasped, silent, awestruck. Some whispered prayers, others wept, for it felt holy, not of this world. I leaned over the rail, hand in water. The glow spread with every touch. A trail of light followed my fingers. It was as if the abyss recognized me. The old tales said these lights were guardians, spirits of the sea watching over travelers, not as punishment, but as guides. Their glow marking safe passage in darkness. Fishermen said the glow saved them often. When storms swallowed the sky, stars gone, the light below kept them steady. It showed the way when all else failed. Others claimed the glow was memory, that every life the sea touched left sparks, that the ocean carried them, luminous and eternal. Each shimmer a soul still drifting. Perhaps this is true, for I felt presence in those waters. Not just beauty, but something alive. Something aware of our fragile existence. The ancients believed Poseidon walked there, that the glow rose from his steps, each footfall leaving eternal light, reminders that he is never absent. In temples, they painted seas of gold. Priests sang of luminous tides, not to frighten, but to comfort. For they saw the glow as blessing, a sign the god watched, patient and kind. I recall one story from a wandering monk. He said he followed the glow for days. It led him to an island uncharted, a place no storm could reach. He called it a sanctuary, a gift. And when he left, the island vanished. But the glow returned, leading him home. He swore Poseidon himself guided him. And who am I to doubt? For I too felt its pull that night. A current beneath, steady and sure. The glow followed its flow, as if urging us to trust the path. I wondered then if this was the truth, that the light was both beauty and compass, both mystery and mercy. The abyss whispering not with words, but with fire. Even now I dream of that sea, of stars below, brighter than any sky. When the world feels heavy, I remember that beneath darkness, light waits unseen. It rises not in fury but in patience, soft, eternal, unbroken. The luminous depths are not rare. They appear when least expected. Not to all, but to those who need them. That is their secret, their gift. They are the ocean's way of answering, a response to doubt, to fear, to silence. And when you see them, you know. You are not abandoned. You are not lost. The sea remembers you. It marks your path with light. So you may continue, even when blind. The glow fades with dawn, but not from memory. For once seen, it lives within. The abyss holds light as well as shadow. Poseidon whispers not just in waves, but in stars. And sometimes those stars rise from the deep. The sea has spoken in many ways. Through hymns, through light, through silence. Through currents that guide, caves that remember. Each whisper a thread in Poseidon's eternal song. Now, as I close this journey, I reflect. What is the abyss but memory itself? Not dark, not void, but endless presence. A living truth beneath the waves. I have walked its shores and drifted its depths. I have listened, and I have learned that the ocean is not enemy nor master. It is companion, patient and vast. It tests, but it also embraces. It reminds us of smallness, yet connects us to eternity. The ancients understood this wisdom. They built temples not to conquer, but to honor. They sang not to be heard, but to listen. For they knew the sea does not shout. It whispers, eternal and unbroken. Each tide carries a lesson. Each wave holds a memory. Each current is a path, if we let it guide. Perhaps that is what Poseidon always meant. Not to rule with fear, but with reminder that we are threads in his boundless design, that the abyss is not absence, but wholeness. The sea has carried stories older than stone, songs that echo beyond time, lights that rise when hope is dim, and sanctuaries that offer silence, not storm. All these I have seen, and all remain. They are not mine, not yours, but eternal. When we are gone, the sea endures. When memory fades, the abyss remembers. It whispers still to those who listen, not with thunder, but with patience, not with force, but with presence. I remember standing once at dawn. The horizon stretched endless, a line of fire. The sea breathed beneath it, calm and sure. And in that moment, I felt it, the eternal whisper of Poseidon. Not a voice, but a knowing. That we are never apart from the sea. That we return to it, always. In breath, in silence, in memory. It carries us as it carries all. Through storms, through calm, through time. Never ending, never failing. The abyss is not to be feared. It is to be remembered. For within it lies music, light, and truth. The sea waits, always. Not to take, but to remind that we are part of something infinite. That eternity is not above, but below. Beneath every wave, every tide. The eternal whisper remains. Soft, unbroken, patient. Poseidon's gift, Poseidon's song. And when you stand by the shore, listen. Close your eyes and be still. The hymn is there, the light is there. The heartbeat of the deep, waiting. It is not far, not hidden. It is within as much as beyond. The sea remembers you as it remembers all. And when you depart, it will sing still. For the whisper does not fade. It is eternal, endless, alive. The abyss speaks, if you listen, and its voice is forever Poseidon's.